Welcome to the video on tips and tricks. So we often get asked for guidance on how people can make the most out of their time in CRM. So because we at Tall Emu use our own CRM, this video will take you through some of the helpful features and functions in CRM that we all use ourselves day to day and will hopefully help you get the most out of CRM. So the first thing we're going to look at is filters and layouts. So no matter where you are in CRM on the menu on the left, filters will show in the top right hand corner and layouts a little bit below that. Now when you first start using CRM, you may have hundreds of records or you may have thousands. As your use increases over time, so is the number of records. So once we end up with thousands of records across all the different modules in CRM, the question then becomes, how do we make sense of that information on a day-to-day basis? Because we need to be able to pull out records in different types of chunks depending on where we are in the system. So the answer to that question is to use filters and layouts. So let's have a look at what they are. A filter lets us define what type of data we want to see. So if I come in here, I can click on the icon here to create a new filter and give it a name. So what I can do, I'm going to call this one Customers in New South Wales. I've got the option that I can share this view with my colleagues, or I can keep it as a private filter for just myself. So because it's likely that everyone's going to want to be able to view the customers in New South Wales, I'm going to share this with my colleagues. Now I need to give CRM some conditions that I need the data to meet. So first of all, I'm going to pick the life cycle stage of the company record and say that this must equal customer. So that's an option I have in my system. Then I'm also going to perform an extra check in here and say that the record must be active. So I can weed out anyone that perhaps used to be a customer. So once I click OK, you can see that that has now been applied in my filter box up here, and straight away I have a view of these particular customers. So that's what a filter is. And you can see that I've set up multiple different filters in my system for different purposes. So I've got customers in Western Australia, I've got one based on credit limit amounts, I've got a private one here will sort companies by industries. So you can have as many of these filters as is useful for you to help you pull out customer data each day. Now, once I've selected a filter, what we can then do is apply a layout to it. So depending on whether I'm looking at customer information or supplier information or ex-customer information, the columns that I want to see are probably going to be different for different filters. So that's where layouts come in. So I can basically save a layout the same way that I can save a filter. And let's apply this one called Basic Company View. So here, I've already pre-formatted the columns that I want to be able to see and the order in which the columns display. So I can now pull up my Customers in New South Wales filter and look at that through a number of different types of layouts that will show me different types of information. So that's a really quick way to be able to drill down into the data that you need. So to create a layout, what we can do is come and manipulate our view here. So I can drag different columns into different positions. I can also click on this little gear icon in columns and go and add more columns to my view. So I might want the account manager, I might want the current balance of their invoices, I might want the industry type that people belong to. So I can go and pick the columns that I want in my view, apply them, and then drag them into new positions. So once I'm happy with that configuration and I'd like to save it as a layout, I can come and click here next to the layout box and give this one a name and choose whether or not I share it with my colleagues. And now it's available for selection anytime I use it. So what you're going to want to do is set up filters and layouts in different areas of CRM for different purposes. So you'll probably want some private ones that just show you your customers or your accounts that you work with, as well as ones shared across the company. So if we come into this area here for quotes, you can see that I've got some pre-formatted ones here. I've got a view for my accepted quotes that I can really quickly bring up in the system. I've also got a view for my current quotes, lapsed quotes, quotes that haven't been accepted yet. If I hop into the orders area, similar story here. I've got all my back orders, I've got invoiced orders, I've got orders that are yet to be invoiced, and I've got orders with deposits. So I can basically click on any of these, and depending on the type of invoices that I'm looking at, I'm probably going to want to apply a different layout. So this is going to show me all the shipment details for my invoiced orders. So if I bring this one up, this is going to show me, right, all these have been invoiced, and this is the shipment status, and these are the shipments associated with them. So it's a really easy way to pull up the related information. If we hop into invoices in here, we can see paid, partially paid, and unpaid invoices. And again, we're probably going to want a different view depending on whether something is invoiced or paid or unpaid, etc., so that we can see the appropriate columns that we want to. So going through CRM and creating different filters and layouts is going to make life much easier moving forward, because you're able to quickly pull up records that you need to work with on a day-to-day basis. So the next thing we're going to look at is sending emails from CRM. So there are two parts to emails when working with CRM. So the first is sending an email out of CRM. So this means that earlier you need to have come into the admin area in integrations and gone and set up your SMTP email configuration. So that's basically going to allow all your user mailboxes to send emails outside of CRM. So what you'll be able to do is then go and select a sender, select a template, or just free type an email, and you're off and running. So depending on who you send the email to, it's going to be tracked to the timeline of various records. So if we send that out to a company and to a particular contact at the company, it will show in both places. If we send an email out from an invoice, it will show on the invoice timeline as well as the appropriate customer records. So we can send emails out of CRM and also see all the emails that have been sent from this calendar and activity area by coming into calendar and searching for just email activities in the system. So this will show me all of the emails that have been sent by all of the users out of CRM. So the other part to emails is sending them out of Outlook. So you can do both. So on a regular basis, I will send emails day to day from Outlook and also some from CRM. When I send a message from Outlook, I've got a program downloaded that's called Inbox Insights. So what this does is connects your Outlook to CRM. So when I send emails, I can click this little sync button here. When I send it, we've got some emu feet here while the system goes and thinks about it. So what it's doing is looking for a match for the sender and the recipients for this email in CRM. So it's going to come up in a second and say, oh, I can find Kieran and Mike, or I can't, and it will go and create them in CRM. So what I can do is sync my emails, my contacts, and also everything in my calendar across to CRM. So that means that CRM is then becoming the correspondence source of truth where all the information is being gathered in one spot. So I can come to a customer record and see all the other emails that have been sent by my colleagues, and you can see it's come up now and gone, right, I found Mike, I found Kieran, I can see that she works for Tall Emu, and I can now go and sync that email across to CRM. I can also pick from related records as well. So I might want to go and link this to an invoice or an opportunity or a quote or something like that in the system. So I can basically go and select from the list here and also link that email to an additional record timeline. So you don't have to use one or the other. I use both of those on a day-to-day basis. So why I'll send emails out of CRM is for the simple fact that we can access email templates. So you can go and set these up in the admin and templates area of your CRM. So if we come down to admin, we've got templates and we've got email templates here. You can go and pre-configure as many different templates as you'd like. Now, why that's helpful is because what you can do with the templates is add merged information in. So if you have standard emails that you send to customers on a regular basis, for say when you send out a quote, an invoice or a sales order, or when you're following up with a new lead or an inquiry, you can go and pre-format an email template that is going to pull information from CRM about the type of record or customer that you're working with and automatically populate that. So that's basically going to cut down on the manual admin work if you're following a similar process for all of your customers or all of your sales or jobs, etc. So email templates are one of the reasons that I'll send emails out of CRM, and sometimes I'm already in here in a customer record and it's just quicker to do it that way. So basically, make sure your SMTP integration is set up here in Admin Integrations. And if you're using Outlook, go and download Inbox Insights so that you can transfer data from Outlook into CRM. So the next thing we're going to look at in CRM is how to bulk update records. And it doesn't matter where you are in the system, this is a hugely useful tip. So if I look at my company records in here, I might want to have a look at who they're assigned to. So maybe we've had a change in the sales team and I want to go and reassign a number of records to another user. So what I'm going to do here is look up all of the records that are assigned to Andy, go and select them and reassign them to myself. So I can select the records down here using these radio buttons. I can select all the records in the view by using this one at the top. I can deselect, etc. Once I've made my selection or pulled up a filter with the information that I want, I come up here to the toolbar and click on Update. What I can then do is choose from all of the fields on the company form and decide which ones I want to update and with which value. So in this case, I want to change the value for assigned to and change it to myself. I can also go and select from other fields. So maybe I also want to update the account manager as well. Or maybe I want to go and update the price type for a customer, or I want to go and update their industry type or which category they're in. So we can select from a number of different fields here and update things in bulk rather than having to do it one by one. So once I hit update here, the system will go and apply that change to these records in bulk. So you can see there are no longer any records assigned to Andy. And if I look up myself instead, we'll see that they've been reassigned to me. So if I type in here, Kieran, and we've got a full list and we can see those 3 that have now been reassigned to me. So this is really, really useful in a number of areas in CRM, particularly when you're working with inventory. So we might want to go and update GL codes or tax rates or something for our products. So rather than opening each product individually, going and editing it, applying the change and then coming back and doing that for numerous other records, we can basically just go and select the records that we want to work with, click on this update button and go and update GL codes, go and update tax rates, etc. Really useful as well when you're working with opportunities in bulk. So if we needed to reassign opportunities to another user, or we wanted to change their status, or go and apply a start date or a follow-up date to them in bulk, again, select my records, and I might want to go and set all of these with a follow-up date of next week, and also go and assign them to myself. So we can really quickly and easily work with records in bulk so that we don't have to go and edit them all individually. So that is working with bulk update. So anywhere on the toolbar where you can see this update button, that's going to be an option for you. So now we're going to look at using the follow update field in CRM. So this is one of my personal favorites. So we've got calls, tasks, meetings, and various different activities that we can go and set reminders on so that we can get an alert here over in the bird of notifications in CRM. However, most of the time I end up using the follow update field because when I enter in a task or a future dated call, etc., there's a fair bit of data that I need to fill in when all I want is a simple alert that I need to do something inside of CRM. So what we have for that purpose is something called the follow update field. So you'll see it on companies, contacts, opportunities, quotes, orders, invoices, etc. So if we open up an opportunity here, we can see that we have a follow update field here. So I can set that for whatever I'd like it to be. So what's going to happen, the person that the record is assigned to, in this case it's me, and when I log into CRM on the 17th, I'm going to get a notification up here. So you can see I've got a few opportunity follow-ups already in here in CRM that I've been alerted to. So all I need to do to set myself a follow-up, or for the person that is the record owner, is go and add this date. So really, really simple. So rather than going and adding data into a call or to a task with specifics where I have to do quite a bit of work to get that information in, I can just edit a record and add a follow-up date, and then either myself or the person that it's assigned to is going to get an alert when they log into CRM on that day. So that's really, really handy. And also remember that you can bulk update records with a follow-up date if you want to, as we looked at earlier. So we can use that companies, contacts, opportunities, but also very useful on things like orders or quotes. So if there's a particular quote that I need to follow up, so if I bring up my quotes that aren't accepted here, I can go and select these and go and set a follow-up date for all of these quotes. So I might say I need to follow these up on Friday this week, and I'll also just make sure that they're assigned to me. So once I update that, what CRM's done is it's gone and put in a follow update for all these. So when I log in on Friday, I will get alerts over here that I need to go and follow up that quote. So a really, really simple way of getting a quick reminder that you need to work with a record. And once those reminders do show up, I can click here to come straight through to the record in question. So I've got this opportunity reminder here. I've got an invoice to follow up here. I can come straight through to the invoice or the opportunity or the job in question and jump straight in, do the actions, and then reset that follow-up date if required, or just remove it from the system completely. Now, another important point to follow-up dates is to have filters for them, because once you've gone and applied follow-up dates in the system, what we're going to want to do is come up with a list of things that we need to follow up. So this is how we can apply filters to our follow-up dates so that we have nice, neat workflow lists. So what I can do in this case is create a filter for myself for quotes to follow up. So I don't want to share this with others because it's just for my quotes and just for my workflow purposes. So first of all, I want to pick all the quotes that are assigned to me. So anything that contains my name in here. I also want to pick anything that's got a follow-up date that falls this week. So you can see once I've got a date selection in there, I can pick from this week, last week, next month, etc. So I'm going to pick all the quotes this week and basically see what that gives me. So these are the ones that we had earlier that we've set up the follow-up date on. So when I log into CRM first thing in the morning, I can quickly bring up my list of all my quotes to follow up and work through them that way and basically go and make my calls, send my emails and SMS to follow up on those quotes. So you're going to want different personalized filters in your customer records, in the sales area, in opportunities, in jobs, etc., that show you just what it is that you need to do on a day-to-day basis. So the next thing that we're going to look at is how to use different types of views. So you'll notice across the top here, we have different icons depending on which area of the system that we're in. So if we're in companies, you can see here, this icon is a goldy color. So the view that you're currently in will always show us this gold color. So what we're in is called list view at the moment. So it's literally just giving me a list of all the company records in this area. What we've also got is a map view. So what that means is if my customer records have address information in them, all my customers are going to have pins on the map. So the further I zoom out, we can see different hotspots of activity in here, and then I can drill in on an area and have a look at where my customers are located. So really helpful for visualizing your information. We also have Kanban view that will show you your records according to lifecycle stage or different options depending on which area of CRM you're in. But you can see here, I can sort my customers by lifecycle stage, and I can also sort them by the person that they're assigned to. In companies and contacts only, I've got this extra view on the end. Now this is a merge duplicates view. So what we can do in here is get CRM to run a check for anything that it thinks are potentially duplicate records. And then I can choose whether to merge those records or to ignore them. So we'll see that option only appears in companies and contacts. And in contacts, you can see I've got the same options that I had in company. So I've got list view, map view, Kanban view, and merge duplicates view. Now, when you're using Kanban view, in opportunities is really, really handy because not only can we see our opportunities by stage or by who they're assigned to, when we're working with opportunities, it's really easy to update their status or their stage or who they're assigned to by dragging them between these different columns. So I can move this one to delivery, I can move this one to a qualified lead, I can change this to accepted delivery, and I can move opportunities between different phases really easily. I can also go and view them by who they're assigned to and go and reassign records to various different teams. And you'll also see that when I grab an opportunity record, I get some additional options at the bottom of the screen where I can mark an opportunity as won, lost, or remove it from the system altogether. So Kanban view in opportunities is highly recommended. If we come into quotes, orders, and invoices now, we're going to see that we have list view, we have map view, we've got Kanban view, but we have an extra option on the end here. So this little graph with the arrow above it is dashboard view. So we've got that in quotes, orders, invoices, and various other places in CRM. So what this is going to do is give us yet another way to visualize our data in CRM. So you can see here, I've brought up a sales month to date dashboard, but I can also go and select from different types of dashboards in the system. So I might want a sales order summary, and I can also change the date range for my dashboard. So I might want to change that to financial year, and let's have a look at last year instead. So I can quickly refresh the data. Now, the good thing about dashboards is that as well as changing the type of dashboard that you're viewing and the date range for which you're viewing it, we can also interact with the information by clicking on it. So if I click on My Sales here, CRM is going to go and adjust the other graph boxes to correspond with just mine. If we click on Mike, it's going to do the same thing, and I can go through and drill down into the data in different areas and different levels to basically get the information that I want to see. Over in the corner here, we've got this little button where we can quickly export this to a PDF or to an image file if required. So if we come into invoices, we can see that we've got that option as well as in quotes and orders, and we've got a nice little summary of our invoices here. We can have a look at our invoices by sales regions, and we can basically go and change to, let's say that's last year, and basically change these and then drill into our information by clicking on the dashboard. So you're going to have dashboard view. Look for the little icon up the top here, and we're going to be able to see it. Now, when I was in orders here, one thing you can enable in CRM is if you perform your own deliveries. So you're delivering customers to goods yourself rather than using a third-party service to do so, you can turn on a feature in CRM that gives you a calendar in sales orders. So what this will let you do is set up various different delivery resources. So you can see I've got a couple of trucks here that have their own calendar, a Melbourne truck and a Sydney truck. So what I can do is go and link sales orders to one of these trucks and schedule the deliveries on the calendar and also print out a delivery run sheet. So you won't have this by default in CRM, but it's definitely an option that you can go and enable and have an additional view here in sales orders to help you workflow your own deliveries. So the next thing we're going to look at is using the description boxes in records. So this is one of my favorites as well. So what we can do is in customers and sales and various different CRM records, when we put it into edit mode, we have a description box down the bottom here. So anything that I type in this box, once I've saved the record, is going to show at the top of the record. So it's a good way for capturing a snapshot or pertinent information that we want to be front and center rather than having to go through the timeline to look for it. So in this case, I'm just going to put a quick note in here. And once I've saved that, what we're going to see is that information is now prominently displayed on the customer's record. So whoever opens it is going to see that front and center. So it's a good way for popping in notes about a customer or their preferences. What we can also do, I like to use this one in opportunities as well. So you'll see that once we go and edit this, I've got some junk in my description box here, but I can put the details of my last call, I can put the details of my next call, and any actions that I need to perform. So that means that rather than having to scroll through the timeline to find out where I'm up to with this opportunity, I can quickly see, right, that was what we talked about in the last call, that's what I need to make my next call about, and this is what I need to do next about it. So it's a really quick way of making information prominent on a record so that you can access it quickly. So the next thing we're going to look at is the use of tags in CRM. So if we open up a customer record, you'll also see this on quotes, orders, opportunities, jobs, all sorts of records in CRM. You're going to see this little tags area up the top here. Now, what is a tag? Essentially, it's like a custom field that you can get into CRM to record information specific to your business. So tags can be used for any sort of purpose. So what we can do here is go and look at existing tags in the system or add a new tag. So in here, I might say that they like dogs and add that. So once I save that choice, when the record is next open, we've got this tag up the top here and I can see that this particular customer likes dogs. Now what I can do is create as many different tags for different purposes as I want. So they might also be a slow payer, they might also have bought a coffee machine from me before, and they might be a little bit difficult coming from the dark side of the force. So I can click OK here and have all of this information show at the top. Now the other benefit of doing that, as well as having it visible on records at the top here, is we can then go and search by records that have particular tags associated with them. So what I can do is go and add the tag column to my view and then get an overview of which customers or which records have which tags. So you can see here, I've got this now, so I can search for anyone that has the dog tag in there, and I've got one there. I can also look for anyone that's got the coffee machine tag. I've got a couple of people that meet that. Anyone that's a slow payer. My list gets a little bit bigger, and I can basically go and create tags for whatever purposes I need. Now, if we're using them in a sales sense, it might be the case where we've got an invoice that's a little bit special. So in this one here, I can say, talk to Kieran before sending. And we'll click add, and now whoever opens that invoice is going to see this little tag up the top here. So we can use these for multiple purposes in multiple ways in different areas around CRM. So the next thing that we're going to look at is working with smart lists in CRM. So in this marketing area, we've got this area called lists. Now you can link your CRM to either Campaign Monitor or MailChimp and sync your list between the systems as well as your campaigns. So what we can do inside of CRM is go into quite detailed segmentation with our customers and then create a list and push that out to our email campaign manager, send our email and have the results come back into the campaigns area. So I'm going to come into lists and click on new list. So what I'm going to create is a list of all my customers in Western Australia so I can send out an email campaign to them and probably will on a regular basis. So I then choose whether this list is related to companies or contacts. So in this case, I'm going to use companies. Now what you'll see is I've got this box here that says is smart. So once I tick that, I get a filter box. And this is exactly like what we were working before when we were creating filters and layouts. So if I click on this box, I can give CRM the data criteria that needs to be met to add people to this list and maintain it in future. So we'll say it's customers in WA and then go and give CRM the parameters for our data. So in this case, I want the lifecycle stage to equal customer. And I also want the state that the customer is physically located in to equal Western Australia. And I'm also going to put an extra check on here and say that the records have to be active as well. So once I click OK, I can save and close my list and I'll have this update data button. So you can see I've got no one in the list at the moment. Once I hit update data, CRM will go and look up those data conditions and find everybody who is a company who has a lifecycle stage of customer that's based in Western Australia for their physical address and whose record is also active. So you can see that's brought back 4 results. Now the beauty of the smart list is not only does CRM go and look this up for you initially, but it's also going to maintain this list in future. So if a customer moves from Western Australia to New South Wales, they'll automatically be taken off the list. If a customer is no longer marked as a customer in the lifecycle stage box, they'll also be taken off the list. If a customer record is no longer active, they'll be taken off the list as well. So this is a really good way for setting up data segmentation that is going to maintain itself moving forward, meaning that you have to do no maintenance and it's all done for you. What we're going to have a look at now is the voice transcription feature in CRM. So when we're working with different types of activities, so notes, calls, tasks, meetings, emails, and SMS, when we open a new one, we're going to see this little microphone option here. Now you've been watching me attempt to type throughout this session and you can see that it's not my strong point. So what I can do instead is click on this microphone. That gives permission for CRM to start listening to what I'm saying and basically transcribe my voice. So this is a much easier option for me than having to type things, particularly if I'm out on the road using CRM on a mobile or a tablet. So rather than struggling with a tiny little keyboard, what I can do is start having a chat to CRM instead. Now, everyone at CRM is contractually obliged to say the following phrase: how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And I can keep talking to this. So once I'm finished, I can click on the stop button and I can also save that as an audio file attachment to my note. So what you can do is keep your notes when you're out on the road and then come back to the office and listen to them again or look at the transcription and basically undertake actions like preparing a quote or sending a particular email to a customer. What we can also do for each user, so if we click on your name in the top right hand corner of CRM and come to users, we can open a user record and go and set the speech recognition language. So on any particular day, I may be feeling more German or French than I am English, and I can go and pick another language from that list and set that up for my users. So if we come back, we can see that we now have that audio file attached, and we have a nice neat record in here that includes the transcription and the original audio that we can go and attach to a company's file. So I'm going to go and throw that on the Death Star and click on save. So if I now come back through to the company record once that's saved, so if we go and open up the Death Star, we can see that we have that note on the timeline. So we've got my transcription. If I edit the note, I can also access the audio file again or remove it completely if I have no further use for it. So that is voice transcription. So anytime you click on an activity and you see the little microphone button, click on that and start talking to CRM. So what we're going to look at now is using the follow and notify function on records. So if I open a customer record here, you'll see that I have two buttons across the top here. So these are going to show in various other areas of CRM other than the company area. So I've got follow and I've got notify. So what these will let me do is this record is assigned to me at the moment, but if I were to reassign it to Andy, but say that I still want to stay in the loop on what's happening with this customer, maybe I brought them into the business and I just want to keep an eye on it or just out of interest see where they're up to. What I can do is go and click this follow button here. So this now says I'm following the record. What does that mean? I can click again and choose on what time basis I'd like to follow the record. So CRM is now going to send me an email anytime this record is updated and tell me what the update was. Or I can have that sent to me each day or each week and have a summary of all the activity for that particular record, or each month. Or if I decide I probably shouldn't have turned on those emails to start with, I can stop following it and get rid of it and it will return to follow. So any records that you want to stay in the loop on, you can basically go and click this follow button. If you want to keep somebody else in the loop on a record, we can do a similar thing, but notify them. So in this case, I'm going to make sure that Andy is in the loop on this particular customer. So she is now going to get notified about any changes to this record. So I can go and add multiple followers and notify as two records, and it's quite simple to do so. So we can basically turn that on or off as required and get a nice little email summary of activity on different time bases. So while we're in a company record, let's look at one of the other features that we've got, which is using @mentions to tag your colleagues. So what we can do is come down and add a note into the system. So as we saw before, we can use the microphone or we can just start typing in freehand here. And you'll see again why I prefer to use the microphone over actually typing myself. So we can be typing in our notes, and I might want to keep a colleague in the loop on what's happening here or alert them that they need to take some sort of action. When I'm typing my notes, I can use the @ symbol and start typing another user's name. I can then pick them from this list. So I'm going to go and tag a couple of colleagues in this. So I can go and add the rest of my notes in here, and also what I'm going to do is copy the record URL from the address bar here and go and add that in. So what's going to happen when I click save is that both Andy and Tanya are going to get an email with my notes and a link to this record. So the email will tell them that they've been tagged in a note. They can then click on the URL and come straight through to the record. So that's a really easy way to give people an FYI or tell them that they need to take some sort of action. And I always copy the record URL in here because if I get a note and if I just got something that said typing in notes, rest of my notes, I have no context for that information. So I can then click on this hyperlink, go through to the company and just go, that's what she's talking about. Okay. And so it's really easy for my colleagues, and they'll certainly appreciate it, having this link to click. So once I save that, Andy and Tanya are both going to get an email alerting them. They can click on the link and come straight through to the record. So that's really, really handy to use in any area of CRM where you need to keep somebody in the loop or alert them to do something. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to have a look at in CRM is opening records in new tabs or windows, which is particularly useful when we're working with sales. So what we can do is I'll come into sales orders here and just randomly pick a sales order. So what we have on the order is a range of associated information. So I've got a link to the customer up here. I've also got a link to the quote and the original invoice. So if I want to know more about these records or more about the customer, rather than going into companies and searching for the customer or going and looking for the quote or the invoice, I can quickly open it by using these links on the record. So if I click on that and open it in a new tab, I can quickly get to the quote and see the original information. If I do the same and click on the invoice, I can really quickly open the invoice in a new window so that I can have a look at it. I can do the same for the customer and open that link in a new window and maybe go and have a look at their preferences or the last time that we spoke. I can scroll down a little bit further and also do the same for products. I can go and open this product in a new window and go and check what the cost price for a product is, or have a look at how much we've got in stock or the stock movements, etc., or any particular aspect of that product. So I can really quickly access associated information by clicking on a hyperlink and opening that record into a new tab, which is really handy because it saves you going hunting for associated information. So the last thing that we're going to look at in CRM is how to stay in the loop on tasks that you assign to other people. So you can see here across the top bar in CRM, depending on where you are, you're probably going to have this activity bar. We can quickly add a task to the system. We can also come into a customer record or a quote, a sales order, an invoice, a job, etc., and quickly go and add a task to it. So if I want to assign a task to another user, but I also want to stay in the loop on that task and see where it's up to, I choose the other user that I'd like to assign the task to. So in this case, I'm going to pick on Andy. What I can then do is go and add myself as an attendee to this task. So what that means is that when I save this, both Andy and I are going to get an email saying that there's a new task for the Death Star in the system. When Andy works with this task and goes and updates the type or the status of this task, I also get an email. So by adding myself as an attendee, I'm in the loop on whatever is happening on this task. So you can have multiple colleagues added to a task. So basically, if there's anybody else that needs to know about the progress of that task or what's happening on it, go and add them as an attendee. And whenever the task is updated, you're going to get an email to tell you what's happened. So that brings us to the end of the tips and tricks session of CRM, and we hope you found it useful. Thank you.